Saving America one entrepreneur at a time, it's the Biz Rap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs, it's Biz Rap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to another edition of Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you for joining me today. And always, we've got a really exciting show lined up for you. But if you're not familiar with Biz Rap Radio, we are the show all about entrepreneurs and small businesses. Yes, the lifeblood of our economy, the people that are making things happen in this country. No, it's not General Motors and it's not Citibank that are making things happen. It's the millions and millions of entrepreneurs in this country who are out there creating things, hiring people, and serving their community and taking care of their families and their friends. And that's really what it's all about. Well, let's get on with our show today. We have with us Michael Butler. He's the CEO of Beyond Publishing, website beyondpublishing.net. And Michael says, write a book, how authoring books can help the small business owner. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Mike. It's great to be here. Thanks for empowering the economy and small business owners everywhere. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of us have thought about writing a book, but is that realistic? Can somebody actually go out and write a book these days? Do people even read books anymore? What's the story?
Yes, great question, Mike. And yes, and true to all those above. Nielsen came out last quarter and said that print books actually outsold ebooks. But the reason an entrepreneur, a business owner, a startup company, or CEO wants to publish a book, it's really about establishing credibility. I mean, people are reading books. They're reading them on their smartphones. They're reading them on their tablets, their mobile devices. But when it comes to attracting more customers, wanting to be seen as an expert, building a business, I mean, it's the internet killed the publishing industry in 2006. That was the year that Amazon announced that online books outsold bookstore and print books. You know, every author back in the day thought, if I could just get my books into Borders, I'll be a bestseller. But we know what happened with Borders, and unfortunately, many of the local mom and pop bookstores are out of business. Fortunately, there's still some great local mom and pops, and we encourage, people to support them because they're the lifeblood of our future. But, to become an expert, to gain credibility, build a business, attract more customers, let's do it. Even if somebody doesn't have a knack for writing, if they're a dentist or if they're a landscaping business or a roofing company, Mike, it just makes sense. When it comes to getting found on Google for SEO and search, there's nothing better for establishing credibility and giving your customers a print book or a free ebook to do that.
Well, I'm actually an author. I wrote a book, The Secrets to Raising Capital. I'll give it here a shameless plug. But yeah, if you're trying to raise money for your business.
Great book, yeah.
Yeah, The Secrets to Raising Capital. It's on Amazon.com. And I've used it kind of like almost like a business card. If I'm going out to meet somebody talking about doing a consulting project for them, I'll typically give them a copy of my book. And I'll tell you, it is... I think I pay like around $2.75 a copy. It's unbelievable that anybody could even manufacture the book for $2.70. But it seems like a pretty cheap way. But what about the person? It's okay for me because I'm a university professor. I'm used to writing and I can write stuff. But what about for the guy who's there? He says, hey, you know what? I am passionate about my business. I love what I do. And I can sit there and talk to my customers all day about my business. But gosh, I wouldn't know what to put down on a piece of paper. How does that person get started?
Well, think about it, Mike. It's not even so much about somebody reading the book. It's the implied credibility. If you're a dentist, or we refer to the landscaping business, if you have a storefront and people are coming in and you have a book sitting on your counter, and maybe there's a few minutes between appointments where they're going to pick up that book. It's a hardcover book or even a softbound book. It's just the perceived value, the establishing of credibility, and the internet, the technology, the publishing space. We've got a lot of our authors, believe it or not, they'll just sit down and do a series of YouTube videos, give us access to their YouTube channel, and 60 days later, we pop out a book for them. So it's not even like they have to bang it out at the computer for 60 days or miss sleep overnight. They can literally dictate while they're driving. If you're in California, do the hands-free device for sure so you don't get a ticket. But, hey, that's a great drive time, radio time return on your ROI, right, for L.A. or anybody that lives in a congested city. Turn drive time into profitable ROI. But it's also a great gift. I mean, if you follow up with your clients after a networking meeting or after you close a deal and do an event, send them a free ebook. Send them a free print book with a housewarming, office warming basket. It's got your book in there. So it's always a credibility piece. Here's what I found too, Mike. People will occasionally throw away business cards. They'll never throw away a book, especially if it's got your picture on the back of it and it establishes credibility about your brand. They're going to want to be seen as the expert along with you, and they're going to want to pass it along to anybody that needs your services.
So what you're saying is that even if somebody's not, Ernest Hemingway, as long as they can throw some ideas down, whether recording it on tape perhaps, or whether they've made some YouTube videos, you can through your services, you could craft that into a book for them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we totally do that all day long, and it's a great service because 85% of Americans want to publish a book in their lifetime, but the sad fact is fewer than 95% of new authors will sell more than 500 books. Most new authors end up with cases of books sitting in their garage, and they can't sell them to anybody other than family and friends. Fortunately, with the internet now, there are ways we can leverage the internet and keywords, but for the new author, it's a great way to go. There's 1 million new ISBNs issued each year in America, so we've got now here's the amazing thing, and you'll love this as a university professor, you'll love it and hate it, because 23% of the books that are consumed in the U.S., but 76% of the books are consumed outside the U.S. So for your listeners, I would say, as you're launching onto iHeartRadio with BizRap Radio, kudos on that, but you got to realize if you're writing a book this year that you need to write far beyond the borders of the U.S. and be thinking about the U.K., be thinking about Australia, and be thinking about South America and everywhere English is spoken, because, Mike, there's a great market for the book, and unfortunately, America is not as active readers as we once were, but fortunately, with world travel and the ability to syndicate that content through the internet, we can make those ebooks for sale all around the world, wherever English-speaking readers live.
Now, you mentioned English-speaking readers all around the world. And of course, there's that not only includes countries where English is the native language, but obviously many countries where people can read English as a second language. But what about if somebody wants to publish their book in a foreign language? Can you help with that?
Yeah, we do, actually. We're translated into 17 languages right now. We've got 5 new books, new languages coming out this year: Polish, French, German, Lithuanian, and Russian. And so, of course, Mandarin, Chinese, and Spanish are always huge requests we get. So we do Chinese and Spanish. But, the translation services with the internet, and it's not like we're cutting and pasting into Google. We're using verified master degree quality translators at a very affordable price, depending on the book and how technical it is and how academic it is versus fiction, nonfiction, and what the genre is. But happy to give your readers a proposal on that, because when you look at the global opportunity here, if somebody's got a book and they've sold 10,000 copies in English, then it would behoove them. It's a great conversation. Taking that into Spanish, taking that into some other languages, Mike, is just smart business, depending on what their goals are.
That is just such great information. We are on with Michael D. Butler. He is the CEO of Beyond Publishing. You can check it out at beyondpublishing.net. The whole idea is that you, as a business person, yes, you could actually publish a book, and you could use that book to help promote your business. You can give it to your customers. There's a whole bunch of uses for it, and who knows, you might even make some money off of it. But it's BizRap Radio. Your host, Michael Manahan. We're going to have to break here for commercials. We will be back with Michael Butler and beyondpublishing.net right after these messages. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. BizRap Radio, the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. Thanks for sticking with us today, or if you've just joined us, thanks for joining us. We are talking with Michael Butler, the CEO of Beyond Publishing. BeyondPublishing.net is the website. Michael's talking to us about how we as entrepreneurs and small business people can actually publish our book, and we can use that book as a tool for basically promoting our business. Michael, thanks for staying with us.
Hey, it's great to be here, and kudos on ramping up the iHeartRadio. We're really excited, and we'll be tuning in more and more.
Yeah. Hey, so it's what else can you tell us? I mean, what other services can somebody get if they go to beyondpublishing.net?
Well, when you ask the average American, they want to write a book, Mike, and if they've been successful in business, or if they've retired and maybe they're transitioning into careers, we've got a lot of Americans that have been downsized with the economy that are out there. And they're on LinkedIn, and their primary job on LinkedIn is they're interviewing and consulting. And so when you think about writing a book, it really establishes credibility. And when you think of some of the great stories from California, even Chicken Soup for the Soul, look at Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield. They were initially turned down by 144 publishers, and now that's a $2 billion brand. The publisher said, nobody wants a storybook anthology of people's personal stories that'll never sell, and look at what they've done now. So I think, Mike, when an individual says, I want to write a book, they've got to ask themselves why. What am I writing about? 60% of the books out there that are consumed are fiction books for entertainment and recreation. And so it makes it a little tighter target if it's a nonfiction, personal development, or self-help book. And many of our books are personal development, self-help, and business, even though we do have a fiction imprint. So if somebody is writing a how-to book, they need to niche it. But here's the thing. If you can actually go on Amazon and go on other Google tools and find out what people are searching for online, if you see a niche, fill it. For example, there's 175 million women that are suffering with endometriosis worldwide. It's the third most common disease behind cancer and diabetes, yet nobody knows what it is. So we have an author we published who wrote a book. She suffered from endometriosis. She was a Chernobyl survivor, and she found a niche because all the books out there that were written on endometriosis, they were medical, they were academic, they were boring, and there wasn't an actual survivor that wrote a book. And those that were writing books about endometriosis who were victims were writing it from a very victim mindset mentality. So she wrote a book on how to take control of your life and live well with endometriosis. And so if you find a niche, you find something that people are searching for on Google, and you do your research. You don't have to even be the expert on the topic, Mike, but if you interview the experts, then you by default become the expert. You got a best-selling book.
Well, I had a concept for a book, and I probably shouldn't say it on the air in case somebody steals it, but you always read these books about these great business ideas and great business successes. And yet, just as somebody who's been in business for more years than I'd like to admit, I've seen so many disastrous blunders in not only big corporations, but companies I've worked for, clients of mine. I'd love to compile a book that's nothing more than companies that have made stupid, ridiculous, foolish mistakes. because there's I think there's sometimes this perception that everything goes well in corporations, but really there's so much dysfunction. And I think the bigger the organization, the more dysfunction. And I'd really love one day to publish a book just highlighting all of these massive, what I call screw-ups that people make in the business world.
I think people are going to want to buy that, Mike. We would love to help you publish that. There's no doubt. There's a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that, former Enron type stories that people just love the dirt when it comes out. So, but I want to talk for a few minutes about the business of the book. We're talking about somebody that writes their memoirs and wants to sell 500 copies, but think about the person that not only is using the book to establish credibility, but how they can use it to grow and leverage their business. And I always encourage small business owners, because I was a small business owner for years and owned a marketing PR firm prior to starting the publishing company, and working with many entrepreneurs, and saying the reason you want to write a book is it's going to help you in your local business in Google SEO search. If you want your business to get found, if you're a consultant, if you're a compliance consultant, a HIPAA consultant, a manufacturing or medical consultant, one of the best ways to get found is through writing a book. And the way that you can continue to leverage that is, A, is being a speaker, B, is charging more for consulting and coaching, because the best way to establish credibility is to get there first. And the best way to get there first and to arrive is to write the book, own the trademarks around the proprietary technologies that you employ in your consulting practice, but first of all, put it on your blog and in your book, and then you become by default the expert.
So you can actually build a whole business model around this, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the concept of the book being the business card, maybe that's the way you get people into virtual seats when you host a webinar on your area of expertise, and you're going to have 200 people on a free webinar, and then you're going to invite them to a free event in Long Beach, and you're going to give everybody a free copy of your book, and they're going to get 4 hours of free information from you and another expert. But then at that event, you're going to upsell them into a coaching program or another event. So it's always, a book is just, somebody said it takes 100 tons of dirt in South Africa to move 100 tons of dirt to find 2 carats of diamonds. And so a book is another tool just to sift and sort and to prospect, if you will, to find the qualified candidate that's the decision maker that is ready to purchase from you. Okay. Because let's face it, some people are selling $20 widgets and some people are selling, $2 million homes. It depends your price point and how much dirt you're going to have to move and how many tools like books you're going to need to employ.
Right. So let's say somebody decides, hey, this sounds like a really great idea. I'm an expert in my field of business, and I've always thought about writing a book. Let's say they come to your website. What are the costs involved? How much is somebody going to be looking at spending in order to get that finished copy of the book in their greasy old fingers?
If they've already written the manuscript, then they're really looking at an editing and proofreading. So they're not looking at much. They're looking at cover design. Of course, they're going to want an ISBN number and a Library of Congress number if they're going to be seen as credible. And see, that's the difference, Mike. Somebody that's going to go through CreateSpace or do it on their own, they're not going to get the opportunities to put it into the bookstore, to leverage it into the library system. There's really a lot of value and advantage to going with a publisher. And we're different when it comes to traditional publishing. We're a hybrid publisher. We let the authors keep the rights to their work. The way the old school publishing worked, if you weren't Michael Jordan or Oprah, if you weren't a celebrity status or Dr. Phil, you weren't getting a book deal. But see, even the celebrities that got book deals in the 80s and 90s, they don't own the rights to their book. And the New York publishers that are repping them are keeping 85 to 90% of their revenue and only paying out 8 to 10 to 15%. And so we're a hybrid model. We're different. We pay 50-50 on the rev share. We do all the work, and we really push hard on the marketing. So the real value is we give an honest, upfront proposal. Because let's face it, some people's manuscripts are really in bad shape, particularly if English is not their first language. So we give an honest proposal on what they're going to need for editing, proofreading, typesetting, layout, cover design. There's a lot of components that go into getting a book ready for market. But if somebody's just wanting to do an ebook, $100, $200, we can get them up in the online stores and selling, making revenue, generating revenue.
Michael, let me interrupt you. We got to go to commercial break, but can you stick with us?
Yeah, I can stick around. I'm having fun.
Okay, great. It's Michael Butler, CEO of Beyond Publishing, beyondpublishing.net. Michael Manahan, BizRap Radio. We'll be right back. And welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. BizRap Radio, the show all about entrepreneurs and small business. We're here with ideas that hopefully you can use to help make more money in your business. And I'll tell you, we've got somebody on the line with us who's been sharing some ideas with us. And this is really exciting stuff. It's Michael Butler, CEO Beyond Publishing. Go to beyondpublishing.net. And we've been talking about how you, as a business person, could write a book that could be used as a tool to enhance and build your own business, basically as a marketing tool. And Michael was giving us all sorts of ideas and suggestions. But, Michael, thanks for sticking with us for another segment.
Hey, I'm having a lot of fun, and your listeners are great, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
So you were mentioning just before we went to commercial break that your business, you're actually a publisher, and you were comparing you with kind of the traditional publishing houses where somebody goes. I always think of those publishing houses. They're all like in New York, and you go there, and they get thousands and thousands of manuscripts every year, and out of thousands of manuscripts, they publish one or two books, and they take control over the thing, and they end up with the copyright, and they just pay you a little pittance of a royalty. And if you don't end up selling 500,000 copies, you really don't make anything off of the deal. But you're different.
Yeah, that's the old model, and that's really broken, and that's really the pre-internet model. That's the dinosaur model. We're in the new millennium now, and it's all about empowering the local business owner. Be it a massage therapist, be it a consultant, a coach, be it a trainer and a nutritionist or a chef that has got a business that they're launching, or they've been in business a few years and just need some more tools. Having a book. I mean, think about this. You're paying $2 to have your book printed. When somebody sells a book for $20 and they print a book for $2, that's pretty good ROI. And so if somebody is, say, a speaker, for example, and they're speaking at an event. Well, did you know when you speak at an event, you're much more likely to sell books at the back of the room than if somebody just runs across your webpage, because they don't really have that emotional connection with you. But Mike, you know this, that if you're meeting with somebody personally that you're consulting or coaching with, or you're speaking from the stage or facilitating a meeting, pretty much you can count on most people in that room purchasing a book from you. And having that book, it is a credibility piece. It does establish credibility, and it opens so many more doors for years to come.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions because again, as somebody who's published a book here, and I did it for a couple of reasons. Two reasons. One was a lot of people would come to me wanting to raise money. Raising money is not an easy process, and obviously I charge for that service. And there was people who simply couldn't afford it. And I said, well, look if you can't afford to hire somebody to help you, you go do it yourself, and here's at least what you need to know. The second reason was, of course, I used it actually for clients of mine, because I found I was telling my clients the same thing over and over again, and I got to the stage where I'd say, you know what, you want to hire me to help me assist you in raising money for your business, the first thing I want you to do is read this book. After you've read this book, if you still want to hire me, we'll talk about that, because a lot of the reasons why people have difficulty raising money are covered in my book. And again, it's The Secrets to Raising Capital. You can get it at Amazon.com. But I want to talk to you about something. The reason I bring up my book is because I did go through Create Space. I do sell it on Amazon.com. I don't make a fortune off of it, but I do get a check from Amazon every month. It's a few shekels. But if somebody's already published a book like me, is there Is there any reason to come to you, or if it's already published, it's too late? You can't add any value to the equation.
No, we can actually add a ton of value for international distribution and translation. So you hit on two very important points there, Mike. One is taking the frequently asked questions that your customers are bringing to you and putting that into the book. I mean, that's worth $5,000 right there. What you just said to your listeners was, look, I had everybody coming to me. They kept asking me the same questions. I kept repeating the same answers again and again. Anytime I'm asked, one of my mentors said, anytime I'm asked a question more than 3 times, I print a brochure. In this case, now in the internet age, I launch a website. So if somebody's asking a question, that means there's 10 other people that have the same question. They just haven't asked it, right? So maybe your book is just a compilation of frequently asked questions that you can turn around and monetize. And so we can actually add value there, Mike, and that is through the marketing, the distribution, and through the other channels, getting your book into the libraries, getting your book into the bookstores, all those kinds of things. When you've got a unique book like yours, and who you're targeting is people that need to raise money, that's a very unique niche. And there's a lot of those micro tribes out there online now. We're already connecting with them. We already have people that are speaking to them. So we just connect you with the joint venture partners that already have the list of people that are your target market anyway. So it's a win-win-win.
So that's great. So somebody who actually has a book could still come to you. Now, let me ask you a question. This is a personal question. How quickly do books get dated? I notice a lot as a professor. Maybe it's just a strategy to sell more textbooks, but I notice like about every 2 years or 3 years, that textbook I've been using, they come out with a new edition. I think the accounting text I use in my financial accounting class is now on the 8th or 9th edition of that textbook. If somebody has published a book, and it was like my book, Secrets to Raising Capital, I think I published it 2012. How often should somebody be updating their book to add new information and have a new version of that book come out?
Well, that's a real good point, Mike, and it depends on if it's fiction or nonfiction. It depends on what industry it's in. I think if a book cover looks like it's from the 60s, a lot of those academic books back in the day, that came from just there wasn't any creative design or thought put into it. But now we're in the modern era. It's all about the visual appeal and to get somebody to pick up a book or buy a book online if they don't know you is really tough. It's really a challenge. So it really comes down now to the visual appeal of the book cover. And also the other equation is depending on how many books you're going to print. If you're going to print 2,000 books or 20,000 books or 500 books. So, I mean, obviously, when you go with a hybrid publishing model like ours, the author is going to save a lot of money by printing the books through a hybrid publisher where they're printing the books for, like you said, about $2 a piece compared to, somebody like Create Space or a lot of the other publishers that are charging $10 to $12 a book, and the author's not really making anything. They're only covering their costs. There's no profit. It's just a hobby at that point. But how frequently to update it? Here's what's required is as often as the market dictates. I mean, if it's going to help drive sales and you can recover your ROI in a short amount of time, then change out that book cover every couple of years. And if it's technical information, it needs to be updated anyway. You can even issue a new ISBN number and relaunch it as a new book. Because if it's got enough, if it's 30% new content, then it's an entirely new book. Throw on a new book cover, it's a new ISBN number, do it like a new book launch, and that way you can resell to everybody that bought the previous version. You can even give them a bonus. If they bought the previous version, then you're going to give them maybe a VIP video series for free in addition to buying the new book.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Look, we've got about 1 minute left here, Michael. Let me let you give your pitch, your 30-second plug. So how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way? What should they do if they're interested?
Well, here's what we're going to do for your listeners, Mike. For the listeners of your radio show, if they go to beyondpublishing.net, all the BizRap radio listeners, they're going to get a free manuscript evaluation and a free 15-minute consultation with me. They can ask me anything about their book idea, or they can email me at michael@beyondpublishing.net. That's michael@beyondpublishing.net, and I'll be happy to give them a 15-minute consultation, reply to their email, and give feedback on their publishing questions.
That sounds fabulous. It is Michael Butler, CEO, Beyond Publishing, beyondpublishing.net. I'm your host, Michael Manahan, BizRap Radio. And please stick around with us for the rest of the show. Welcome back to BizRap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and that was Michael Butler, beyondpublishing.net, we just had on the line with us. And what an interesting guy, and he's talking about how you too can publish your own book, and what a great tool it is as a business person to help you promote your business, because if you publish a book in the area in which you have expertise, then you are looked upon by people who might be thinking about using your services or using your business as some kind of an expert on it. And you can also use that book as a calling card. It increases your stature with potential customers and clients. And finally, it potentially makes you an expert. You could get speaking engagements and other advantages from that. So a really good interview there with Michael Butler. Check it out, beyondpublishing.net. Maybe you should be publishing a book on your area of expertise. Well, our state of California is at it again. Here's some new business laws for 2015. Mandatory paid sick leave, AB 1552. Beginning on July 1st, employers must pay sick leave to any employee who works for at least 30 days. Applies to full-time, part-time, temporary, migrant, and seasonal employees. And small businesses are not exempt. And then how about this? Independent contract workers. AB 1897. Employers responsible for independent contract workers under some circumstances. Employers who use independent contract workers are now jointly liable with the contractor for those workers' wages and their workers' compensation insurance. AB 2053, abusive conduct training. Yes, you are going to be required to provide sexual harassment training to your employees. AB 477, foreign labor contractors. You are going to have a whole bunch of additional rules and regulations if you hire people who reside outside the United States of America. Discrimination protection, AB 1443, extends to unpaid interns and volunteers. So, yeah, somebody, walks in, you get one of those interns from university, you're trying to give them a little bit of training, and now a whole bunch of rules and regulations on the relationship between you and those interns. And you know what scares me? I'm looking at the numbers on this, and it ranges from AB 477 to AB 2053. Now, that's 1,500 approximately in the spread between these ABs. So is that telling me that's how many rules and regulations the government is passing? And then they wonder why that people are relocating from the state of California to Texas, to Nevada, to Florida, to other states around the country, or why they're relocating from California down to Mexico. I was just talking to a company recently that has moved all of their manufacturing out of California down to Mexico. And it seems our politicians, they're like ostriches with their heads stuck in the sand, as if none of this makes any difference. As if you can pass all of the onerous rules and regulations you want, and it's going to make no difference. Businesses will just continue to operate as they always have. But I got news for you, politicians. That's not what's happening. We are losing jobs in America, and we're losing them, yes, in part because labor overseas is less expensive, but we're losing a lot of jobs, particularly in California, but in America in general, just because of the rules and regulations that you have to go through in order to start your business. And not just are we losing jobs that are going overseas, Mexico and other places, but we are also discouraging entrepreneurs who want to start businesses. I think there's a group of entrepreneurs out there who really just think it's way too tough, way too difficult. It's not worth the hassle. Better off just to go work for the government, get yourself a nice cushy government job where you can basically never be fired. You can lose all of your emails like Lois Lerner, head of the IRS, not perform, and with virtually no consequences, have a nice big fat salary, have a nice pension. And that's great, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to pay for that. And you know who pays for it? It's entrepreneurs. It's small business people. It's that dry cleaner. It's the laundromat. It's the lawnmower repair shop, the beauty salon, the small restaurant. All of these businesses, the local car dealer, all of these businesses that are creating jobs and making profits and paying taxes on those profits that support everything else that goes on. But if you have I see a really scary trend here in the United States. We have an ever-increasing number of people who are reliant on the government for their sustenance. And by the way, I'm not just talking about people getting food stamps, but I'm talking about corporations as well. I remember 25 years ago, if you wanted to raise money, what you did is you went to Wall Street. You went to investment bankers and fund managers, and that's how you raised money. Increasingly, I'm seeing companies bypassing Wall Street and going to the government because there is a plethora of handouts, giveaways, and other resources available from the government to help businesses. Now, why does the government need to be in the business of helping businesses? Well, you know what they've got to do? They've got to try and counteract all of the onerous rules and regulations they have enacted that makes it more difficult to do business in the first place. So on the one hand, they're making it more difficult to do business. They're lessening competition, making it more difficult for new businesses to start up and get into business. But on the flip side, they're turning around and giving away handouts and all sorts of benefits to, in many cases, by the way, businesses that already exist, and of course businesses that are probably contributing to those old election funds. So the whole system has been completely screwed up by nothing else than government intervention where it doesn't belong. So on the one hand, you've got this welfare crowd, whether it be people on food stamps or corporations that are living off the government tit. And then on the other side, you've got an ever-increasing number of people working for government. There is tens of millions of people in the United States that work for the government at all levels, federal level, state level, county level, and city level. So when you start to add it up, if you look at the people who are living off of the government and you're looking at the people who are working at the government, all of that apparatus is being supported by an ever-decreasing number of businesses. And so the tax burden on those businesses is increasing substantially. And of course, I know there's those people say, oh, the income tax hasn't been raised in so many years. Well, that part of that is true. But what that doesn't take into account is the fees, the excise taxes, all of the other charges that the government it puts on not only businesses, by the way, but citizens. Let's face it, they either borrow the money to pay for what they're doing or they tax people to pay for what they're doing. And at a point in time, I think we have to really ask, do we need them to be doing everything they're trying to do? Or maybe, in looking at all these new rules and regulations passed here, at least in the state of California, maybe we could be doing without some of these business regulations that just do nothing more than make it more difficult for businesses to operate. Of course, we've been talking about this minimum wage issue, and of course the politicians are pushing for minimum wage, but all of a sudden we see wages going up. Why are wages going up? Not because politicians are pushing for minimum wage. Wages are going up because the demand for labor is going up because unemployment is going down. So if you create a healthy economy where people can create jobs, they will be hiring people. There will be a greater demand for labor that will cause the cost or the price of labor to go up. People will be making more money, and you won't have to artificially manipulate the market by putting in things like minimum wages. I mean, the fact is, if you can't hire somebody for $10 an hour, there's no available labor at $10 an hour. What are you going to do? You're going to go out and hire somebody at $12 an hour. That's just the way it works. But you put in these artificial levels, and it just screws up the whole system. Anyways, that's my take on it. Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio. Here at BizRap Radio, we believe we can fix the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulations and a planned economy. BizRap Radio, fixing America through individual economic freedom. And let's have a great cheer out for all the small business people and entrepreneurs out there who are making things happen. We really need you. We need you now more than ever. Again, it's Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio. Thanks so much for joining me. We'll be back again next week with another edition of BizRap Radio.